Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Sarah Wong.
And I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. A train jumped off the track near Hong Kong Station this morning, injuring 8 people and forcing hundreds to find their way to safety.
As officials investigate derailment, East Rail services are affected, while trains to and from Guangzhou and Beijing stop running.
And Carrie Lam's Meet the People session kicks off next week, with the chief executive denying that it's a gimmick.
Eight people were injured when a train jumped off the tracks and snapped in two near Hong Kong Station during the morning rush hour.
East Rail services between Hong Kong and Mong Kok East were suspended for the whole day, and services to Guangzhou and Beijing were cancelled as workers tried to move the 12-car train ahead of an investigation into the cause of the derailment. Grace Ma reports.
Morning rush hour commuters had a major fright when their East Rail train derailed and snapped in two, with one part straddling across 3 tracks. The train was heading to Hong Kong Station from Mong Kok East when the doors of one carriage suddenly flew out at around 8:30 a.m. As dust gushed into the train, passengers gasped for air. They helped each other get off before walking to Hong Kong Station, the terminal for East Rail. Some said MTR staff only arrived at the scene after 10 minutes, and there were no announcements to inform travelers of what happened. The fire services department said about 500 passengers were evacuated to safety, but 8 were injured and 5 were sent to hospital. With carriages blocking the tracks, services between Mong Kok East and Hong Kong were cancelled. The railway operator arranged shuttle buses at Tai Wai Station to take commuters to Diamond Hill. But passengers complained that there were no clear instructions on where they should go. This man said it would be better to have a shuttle bus to Hong Kong Station because he wanted to cross the harbour. This man complained that the MTR Corporation has been raising fares each year and should provide more shuttle buses. At Tai Wai, there was a wait of at least 20 minutes for trains to Mong Kok East. Services on the West Rail Line, which ends at Hong Kong, were also delayed. Train services from Hong Kong to and from Guangzhou and Beijing were cancelled. Some passengers only found out about the suspension when they arrived at the terminal. Affected passengers can get a refund within 30 days. Grace Ma, HKIBC.
We now take you live to the scene in Hong Kong. Dozens of MTR technicians and engineers remain on site. Giant crane trucks were deployed earlier to lift the derailed carriages back onto the tracks so they could be removed from the site. The work is expected to continue overnight. It is not known if emergency repairs can be completed in time for the East Rail Line to resume services tomorrow morning.
A crack was found on the track during an initial investigation, but officials are not sure whether it appeared before or after the derailment.
The MTR Corporation says it will not speculate on the cause of the incident until investigators, which include outside experts, complete their work. Here's Grace Ma again.
Transport Chief Frank Chen was at the scene shortly after the derailment to inspect the damage.
We would not rule out any possibility, but at this stage we won't speculate on any particular suggestion.
During the briefing, a man demanded that Chen hand over a surveillance video of police storming a train in Prince Edward Station last month. Senior Superintendent Steve Lee from the Organized Crime and Triad Bureau was also at the scene. The Electrical and Mechanical Services Department said a crack about 30 millimeters wide was found on the track. But director Alfred Sid couldn't be sure whether the crack was the cause or the result of the derailment. Foreign experts will help conduct an in-depth independent investigation, which is expected to take 3 to 6 months.
The common causes of a train derailment are normally confined to 3. First, obstruction. Second, defects in rails. And third, defects in train when it is under operations.
Lau said it's too early to draw any conclusion. He admitted that an 8-meter-long train track was replaced last night near Hong Kong Station, but stressed that it was at least 100 meters away from where today's incident occurred. He added that impairment was found 3 spots on the affected tracks. MTR Corporation Chairman Rex Yeung apologized for the derailment when he visited the injured in hospital. He said although he had been briefed by the management on what they think was the cause, the railway operator will wait until the investigation is completed before announcing the findings. By 4 p.m., the MTRC started realigning the derailed cars on the tracks using cranes and suspension ropes. 3 of the train's 12 carriages had jumped the tracks in what the MTRC describes as a rare incident. The train that derailed was purchased in 1983 and was upgraded once. But the railway firm said these trains could usually operate for up to 40 years. Grace Ma, HKIBC.
Chief Executive Carrie Lam has dismissed claims that her plan to meet people from all walks of life, including protesters, is a one-off gimmick.
She declared that talks are better than confrontation and expressed the hope that the dialogues would be sustainable and long-term. Corinne Lee reports.
Before the weekly Executive Council meeting, Carrie Lam announced that the first Meet the Public session will be held next week. The Chief Executive wants people from all walks of life to express their views freely on any issue, in an attempt to heal the rift after more than 3 months of anti-government protests. Up to 200 people are expected to take part in each section, which will be open to the media.
Since we are going into a new style of governance that is more open and more people-oriented, I think this sort of dialogue will be very helpful. And I can assure you that this is not a sort of one-off gimmick type of function. It is intended to be organized on a very sustainable and perhaps long-term basis.
Lam says ending the violence is still the priority, but adds that communication is better than confrontation. She insists that she's willing to listen to anti-government protesters and is mentally prepared for any difficult situation at the sections. The Chief Executive's bid to meet district councillors has had a mixed response. Some members from both the Democratic and pro-establishment camps are boycotting the talks at government headquarters tomorrow evening, describing the move as insincere. Corinne Lee, HKIBC.
Democratic Party lawmaker Ted Hui is launching a civil action against police, claiming he was detained unlawfully. Hui, who has been released unconditionally, says he was arrested while trying to help a couple caught in a police operation in North Point on Sunday.
The lady was on her knee and crying and shouting to the police and to the public, "I'm just a passerby. Please stop accusing me and release me. I've done nothing wrong." She was crying. That's why I rushed to her side and then trying to protect her and offer help as mediation between the couple and police officers. But ironically, I was charged for obstructing police officer while I was discharging my own duty as a legislative council member. It was totally ridiculous, and I condemn the police for such unlawful detention and arrest.
Hui has instructed his solicitor to issue a district court writ to start civil action against police. Summonses will be issued to Commissioner Stephen Low, as well as the superintendent and officers who arrested him.
The Independent Police Complaints Council has heard that the private information of more than 2,000 officers and their family members have been published online.
At a meeting today, police said they have been harassed since the anti-government protests began more than 3 months ago. Currently has more.
Officers told the Independent Police Complaints Council that they and their families have come under attack in recent months. In some cases, bricks and eggs were thrown at their homes, but most were subjected to cyberbullying or doxing, where their personal information was published online.
過去呢幾個月咧，其實喺網上嘅仇恨言論係非常之多嘅。
Superintendent Swallow Mohammed said the doxing is carried out on a large scale, with 2,200 officers and their families targeted. The information splashed online includes the full names of officers and family members, identity card numbers, addresses, telephone numbers, and their children's schools. Some officers have also been receiving nuisance phone calls. Police and their families who have been targeted have been under tremendous emotional stress, and some have been provided with psychological services, the council heard. Currently,